Hey everyone. Um, this should have been filmed last week, but I think last week I had such a shit week. I just didn't actually get around to doing it. So it was near the roundup of the end of the interpersonal effectiveness module. There's still a couple more left, but it's kind of coming to the end. And this one was about troubleshooting when what you're trying to do isn't working. So it's when you're trying to, get what you want, or it's trying to keep like a relationship okay, or it's about trying to do like different things whilst like keeping self-respect and that. So this we were looking at, what to look at if what you're trying to do isn't working, and it was broken into kind of a checklist of 6, and it's like kind of questions to ask yourself. So if you're like, oh, I'm trying really hard for this but it's just not happening, you can like come back and look at these and see if any of these are having an impact. So the first one is, do you have the skills that you need? So, do you know what skills that you can use? Do you know how to say what that you want to say? So this is looking back at, kind of maybe the Dear Man skill. And it's about, are you actually following it? You might go, oh, I'm trying really hard with it. But when you actually look at it, are you? The second one is, do you know what you really want in that interaction? So, you might be like, oh, well, I'm trying to do this, but, are you actually saying that's what you want? And that might be because you are unsure of your priorities, or you're having trouble like kind of balancing. You might be either asking for like too much, or you might not be asking for anything. So, an example is, oh, I really wanted some help from my GP, but he didn't give me any. And then you need to ask yourself, did you actually ask for the help? Or did you just assume the doctor should know that you were struggling? Sort of like little things like that. And that one, like a skill you can use that is to go back and check the facts and priorities. So, saying, what do you want out of it? And, looking at actually what really happened. The third one are short-term goals getting in the way of long-term goals. So, I don't know, let's say a long-term goal is long-term goal might be to not fall out with your partner for a month. But then a short-term goal might be, if there's like one little thing that's irritated you, the need to like sort everything out now, and you be right all of the time might mean that you fall out like sort of sooner, instead of maybe like the skills could be like more mindfulness, and just trying to be more. That was quite a bad example, to be honest. But to be a bit more, checking the facts. So like, if, you might be like really angry, like 80% about something. But if you're like more mindfulness and ask yourself, is the 80% anger justified? Then that answer might be different. Like, it's not saying don't be angry, because anger is an emotion, but it's saying like, is that amount of anger proportionate? So that might be why you're not getting what it is you want. And the fourth one is, are your emotions getting in the way of using the skills? So with this one, it might be, you have the tools and you do try, but like the emotions getting in the way, it's sort of similar to what people refer to as a kind of red mist, where you're that upset or you're that angry you can't even think about anything else. And a way of coming around that is like just practicing like your mindfulness. And it might be because we keep diary sheets, and if it's something that comes up, if it's like the same kind of event that kind of prompts over emotionalness, it might be worth trying to think of things that you can do to avoid that. So for example, if being late to work is something that stresses you out, it's about coming up with a plan how to avoid that. And it might be all different things, like if you've got children, it might be if ever you get any communication from the school, you get like overly anxious about it, and and if that happens quite often, it might just be worth coming up with a plan on how to negotiate that. The fifth one is worries, assumptions and myths getting in the way. So thoughts might be about bad consequences blocking any action, like going, oh, if I do this they're not going to like me, or if I do this, like, they might think I'm stupid, and then that stops you doing something. And like, this can be like sort of small or major things. Let's say you're out with a group of friends and they're taking turns, like, I don't know, tell like jokes or sing or something, and you stop yourself because you're like, I don't want everyone to think I'm stupid, and like you kind of stop yourself joining in. It's also telling yourself like extremes, like, oh, I can't do this, or if I do this I'm going to fail anyway. And it's about worries, assumptions and judgments kind of getting in the way of doing things. And like, it's hard because it's something that's quite ingrained in us, and some can be harmless, but if it's something that you find yourself doing all of the time, you just keep feeding negativity, like negative, to the point where you kind of start believing it. So if that's something you do sort of quite often, it's worth doing the skill where you write a sentence and then you write like an opposite to it. So for example, I don't know, you might put if I ask for help on this project at work, everyone will think I'm stupid and lazy. But then like underneath you like write the opposite, so, saying I think other people might be willing to share their experience and their opinions. You don't know until you ask. I do give rubbish examples on the spot. But if you type in like any of these kind of things, DBT skills, loads of things come up on Google. And the sixth one is the environment more powerful than my skills? And some of these might be able to be controlled and some of them might not. You know, and that's like, you know, to ask yourself, are other people more in control of the situation than you are? You know, are the reasons you're not getting what it is you want? So, I mean, I don't know too much about this, so I'm not going to give any examples on that. Actually, let me have a look actually. Oh yeah, so on that one, so, you know, if you might not be in control of the situation, then you either have to kind of accept that's the case, or you might have to work with other people to overcome that. So for example, if we go back to the, you know, if you've got a child at school and you get like so anxious if the school try and get in touch with you, it might be asking them, or, you know, kind of working with someone, you know, maybe if you've got, you know, a partner, or, you know, maybe if you've got a parent or a close relative that is willing to help you, it might, you know, it might be worth, you know, sort of setting up with the school and saying, you know, can all communications go to that relative, and then that relative can then communicate it back to you, but in a way that you can deal with better. But that's just like an example. But yeah, it will just go through, you know, different things that you can ask yourself, like if you're trying to use a skill to get something and it's not working, or, you know, you don't feel you can progress in it, instead of just going, oh, this is stupid, it doesn't work, it's trying to look at it from, you know, maybe a different point of view. Because one of the hardest things is, if something's going wrong, 99% of the time it's because we're doing it wrong. But yeah, that was interesting, and, you know, it was a super quick summary, but I hope it kind of helped.